Hi everyone, I'm Mike Staver. This is Money's with Mike, a weekly video series where I answer questions from people just like you. Here we go. Dear Mike, for years I've been an independent sales rep for various companies. Recently, I decided to take a full-time job with one of my customers with whom I had contracted previously. Almost immediately, I realized that the small family-owned company had certain expectations that, to my mind, were not exactly reasonable. Even though I thought they weren't reasonable, I took them on as a challenge. Being a professional sales rep of over 25 years, I decided that I would give it my best shot and put my best foot forward using my best sales skills. I have discovered since taking the job that sales for this company as an employee have been extremely difficult. In fact, it has gotten so difficult that now the owner of the company has asked me to provide for them an activity report hour by hour every day. While it is true that my sales are not up to quota and that I am struggling to achieve the results expected, this seems unreasonable, micromanaging at the biggest level. What do you suggest? The first thing I suggest is that if you aren't achieving your sales goals, that you sit down and have a conversation with them about what their expectations are and what their belief is for the reasons that those expectations are not being met. My guess is if they're asking you to provide a sort of a statement of work hour by hour, somehow they feel like you're not doing the job correctly. So rather than be micromanaged like you're being micromanaged, although I'm not sure that's the worst strategy in the world, maybe the way their attitude might be problematic, I would just sit down with them and come up with a weekly strategy or plan. What they're doing is managing you in arrears. They're managing you backwards. So they wait to hear what you did and then they give you feedback about it. What they ought to be doing is saying, let's talk about it in advance and make a plan going forward. Not tell us what you're doing so we can criticize it or critique it. That's the big problem. The next problem is if you've been a successful salesperson for 25 years and now all of a sudden you're not as successful, there is some disconnect either in your strategy or in the strategy of the company or in the product or service. I would sit down and have a really heart-to-heart thought process with yourself about one of three things. What are you doing that you should stop doing? What aren't you doing that you should start doing? Or what is it you're spending time on that is not giving you high rate of return? If it's an attitudinal problem, if the family or the owner or the boss, whoever it is, it's a family-owned company, I don't know who you report to, but if it's that problem, I'd sit down and have a heart-to-heart and really have a meaningful conversation with them about your intentions are good, you really want to achieve these results, but you seem to be struggling as they're well aware, and the strategy they're using isn't particularly working to help. If the person starts asking for daily activity reports and they're not giving you any real feedback, you think they're just policing you, that's not going to be helpful. So sit down with them, have a meaningful conversation with them, continue to express your intent to do a good job, and get them to give you coaching ahead of it instead of behind it. And then finally, I'd ask them to give you examples of reps who have been successful in the past and what their strategies were as well. All right, take care. I'm Mike Staver. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.